Have you noticed how, over time, it suddenly feels like we just don't get those perfect K-dramas like we used to a few years ago? It's not a coincidence. It's a collapse. 2025 has become the year where screenwriters lost their touch, platforms tossed series into a blender, and ratings crashed to pre-Netflix levels. We used to argue over which drama to start first. Now, the real fight is finding one that's even worth watching up to episode 4. And no, it's not just personal taste. We're seeing record-low ratings, quiet cancellations, and forums worldwide flooded with complaints. In this video, I'll break it down, point by point, and prove why 2025 is officially the worst year for K-dramas. And more importantly, what needs to change right now if we want the genre we love to bounce back. Stick around until the end, and I'll expose the 7 hidden gears that shredded the quality of recent dramas, and share a short but golden list of the few titles that actually escaped this disaster. Grab your popcorn, because the drama behind the dramas starts now. Stay with me, and I'll lay out, no sugarcoating, the 7 fatal mistakes that dragged K-dramas downhill in 2025, plus the very short list of shows still worth binge-watching. Let's go. The ratings crisis of 2025 isn't just disappointed fans complaining. It's backed by cold numbers that are making Korean execs sweat bullets. In January, KBS primetime barely reached 4.8%, the worst since 2001. Over at TVN, once known for double-digit hits, the heavily promoted The Divorce Insurance premiered with 5.6% and dropped to 3.9% by episode 4. JTBC, home of Reborn Rich, saw Heavenly Ever After tumble from 7.2% to 4.1% in just 2 weeks. And don't think it's just Korean TV channels. Streaming isn't safe either. On Netflix, leaked insider data revealed that 4 original Korean series released between February and April had a completion rate below 40%. Even worse, 23% of viewers dropped out after episode 1, a clear sign that word of mouth is going negative from the start. Disney Plus and TVing are struggling too. Resident Playbook lost half its audience between episodes 1 and 6. You might say, but K-dramas have always had ups and downs. True, but this time, it's like all the missteps hit at once. An oversaturated release schedule, rushed scripts due to the writers' strike, an average 18% budget cut per episode, and marketing campaigns that promise the next crash landing every single month. The result? Viewers feel like they've seen it all before, only now it's shallower. Frustration is exploding on social media, flooding dramas' dropped threads and fueling the downward spiral. And then there's the metric nobody likes to mention, ad CPMs. In March, platforms reported a 12% drop in cost per mil for K-drama ad slots, a direct result of advertisers pulling out. When the money disappears, production quality falls, and the scripts, already fragile, are the first to be slashed. To make matters worse, Korean forums are flooded with questions like, is it even worth subscribing? And, are there any good dramas in 2025? This negative buzz becomes ammunition for global YouTubers to react to bad scenes, fueling the narrative of decline. Just remember, Goblin ended with an 18% viewership share back in 2017. Today, even if you add up the ratings of Korea's 3 major broadcasters, you don't come close to that number. In other words, the downfall isn't just a feeling, it's red ink on the spreadsheets. Between algorithm tricks to hide audience drop-offs and executives cutting scenes just to stay on budget, a domino effect is born right at the writer's room. Last-minute contracts, scripts rewritten overnight, and no time to check for story coherence. From this creative chaos come episodes that feel like rough drafts, and the wave of disinterest audiences are clearly feeling on the other side of the screen. When a drama feels poorly stitched together with clunky dialogue and random plot twists, you can bet the behind-the-scenes rush was worse than we imagined. And in 2025, that rush became the norm, a direct result of the crisis that began in 2023, when global writer strikes and internal delays completely stalled production schedules. What seemed like just an American problem hit Korea hard. Platforms, desperate to keep things moving, started signing lightning-fast deals with less experienced writers, or pressuring veteran teams to rewrite entire episodes in record time. No surprise, then, that reports surfaced of filming starting without finished scripts, actors receiving their lines on the day of shooting, improvising dialogue, and adjusting emotions mid-scene. This lack of planning not only drags down quality, it creates an invisible snowball effect for the audience, but a devastating one for the narrative. With no time to build emotional depth, characters turn into hollow versions of themselves. The strong female lead becomes fragile for no reason. The strategic villain suddenly makes dumb decisions, and couples who barely know each other start confessing love just to keep up with the rushed schedule. And of course, the audience feels it. The emotional connection foundation weakens, the story loses momentum, and before they even realize it, viewers drop the drama halfway through. The love that used to carry us through even mediocre plots now can't survive a promising premise. Because promising a good story is easy, building one takes time. And time is exactly what 2025 isn't willing to give. Dramas mass-produced, more and more alike, and increasingly forgettable. While quality declined behind the scenes, another race was happening on the streaming platforms, the algorithm race. Instead of investing in fewer, stronger projects, the motto in 2025 became volume. The goal was to release as much as possible all the time to stay constantly in front of viewers. But quantity turned into repetition, and creativity got left behind. Netflix, Disney+, TVing, and even Amazon's Asian branch dropped a flood of over 40 Korean drama releases just in the first half of the year. With that much content, you'd think variety would increase, right? Wrong. What we got was a wave of generic scripts. The cold CEO who softens, the traumatized idol who finds love, time travel to fix a past mistake, forced romance between childhood enemies. The same formula with different covers and titles, delivered at a pace no viewer, not even the most obsessed, could keep up with. This saturation had a brutal impact. First, audiences became numb. When everything feels the same, nothing truly excites. Second, the platforms began burning through their own shows. With no time to promote one drama before the next one dropped, many titles got buried in the algorithm before ever reaching their target audience. Dramas that could have grown through word of mouth were drowned by the next wave. The result? Shallow stories, throwaway characters, and an uncomfortable sense of déjà vu. The audience, once fiercely loyal to K-dramas, started asking themselves, why should I invest my time in a story I've seen 100 times, just with different faces playing the leads? By this point, it was clear. K-dramas weren't just having a bad year, they were self-sabotaging. And we haven't even gotten to the most painful part yet, the budget cuts that made even the most visually stunning dramas feel hollow. If 2025 proved anything, it's this. Beautiful cinematography alone doesn't hold an audience. You can have museum-worthy posters, breathtaking soundtracks, flawless lighting, but if the script is empty, the audience feels it. And this became even more obvious this year, as budget cuts began bleeding into the productions. The average investment per episode dropped by around 18% compared to 2023. That forced many studios to cut corners wherever they could. Fewer real locations, more recycled digital sets, fewer outdoor scenes, more indoor studio shoots. At first glance, the visual impact was disguised. CGI had improved, color grading was more polished, and everything looked cinematic in those sleek, streaming thumbnails. But once you hit play, it became clear something was missing. Heavenly Ever After is the perfect example. A drama marketed as an epic, full of special effects and dreamy landscapes. But just 3 episodes in, critics and viewers were pointing it out. The visuals were nice, but they felt empty. Characters moved through digital sets like they were stuck inside a mobile game. Epic battles were resolved with choppy edits. Romances bloomed without any emotional weight. The form was there, but the soul wasn't. And the reason is simple. A strong visual might cover flaws for a few minutes, but it can't carry 16 episodes. When the budget is slashed, the first department to suffer is the writing. Fewer shooting days, less time to redo scenes, and no freedom to explore authentic dialogue. Directors are forced to deliver something watchable, but can't demand extra takes or new locations. Writers, in turn, have to condense complex emotions into short lines that can be shot in a single take. That's why so many 2025 dramas felt like they were rushing toward an ending, or just fell apart completely after episode 8. It wasn't always bad writing, it was wartime budgeting. And in that war, the first casualty was emotional engagement. With weakened scripts and tight productions, broadcasters turned to what seemed like the only logical solution, using big-name actors to hold viewers' attention, even if it meant casting the same faces in the same roles, forcing viewers to swallow recycled performances in increasingly shallow stories. So if you felt like you were watching the same drama over and over again in 2025, it wasn't just in your head, it was literally the same actors, in the same dynamics, with just the character names swapped. And that wasn't a coincidence. It was a desperate strategy to salvage crumbling ratings. As scripts grew flimsier and budgets got tighter, producers leaned on familiar casts as a safety net, banking on actors with established fandoms who could at least generate some online buzz during the first few episodes. The problem is, this repetition killed 2 things essential for a K-drama to work: novelty and credibility. When viewers see the same actor playing a cold CEO for the 4th time in 2 years, the suspension of disbelief vanishes. The "I've seen this before" feeling becomes so overwhelming that not even the best marketing can cover it up. And worse, some actors, pressured to accept multiple roles just to stay relevant, ended up in projects clearly beneath their level, damaging their own reputations in the process. 2025 was also the year casting became a factory of controversy. Instead of betting on fresh talent or giving solid actors a chance, producers went for names tied to scandals, gambling that negative buzz would translate into views. The result? Dramas boycotted before airing, social media cancellation campaigns, and a growing sense of distrust about the integrity of these productions. Cases like Jisoo attempting a quiet comeback without addressing his controversial past, or idols being cast in serious dramas despite questionable acting skills, showed just how much the industry chose short-term clicks over long-term credibility. Rather than rebuild trust and quality, they chased shock value and dug the K-drama hole even deeper in 2025. With the production machine running non-stop, scripts falling apart, and overexposed faces everywhere, there was little room left for genuine surprises. The oversaturation of same old, mixed with recycled scandals, created the perfect storm for overall fatigue. Meanwhile, audiences, increasingly critical and tired, started migrating to other content, in search of stories that could still surprise them. But there's still a thread of hope in this chaotic mess. Despite the disaster, not everything was lost. Amid the saturation, the shallow writing, and the recycled casts, a few dramas actually managed to stand out. And what's most interesting is that they all had something in common. They bet on depth, authenticity, and the courage to break free from the formula. Instead of chasing the algorithm, these productions invested in carefully crafted scripts, slow burns that rewarded patient viewers. They didn't try to go viral with episode 1. They aimed to build an experience that would stay with you long after the final scene. One example is The Eighth Night of April, which had no big stars, a modest marketing campaign, and yet won fans through consistent emotional storytelling. Despite budget limitations, it delivered complex characters and sharp dialogue, a rarity in 2025. Another common trait among the few successful dramas was their length. Most were miniseries with just 6 to 10 episodes. Without the pressure to stretch stories across 16 episodes, these projects could be more focused, intense, and most importantly, honest about what they wanted to say. Instead of forced romances or absurd plot twists, they delivered tight, well-structured stories that respected the audience's intelligence. We also saw a small but important shift in casting. Some producers finally gave space to fresh faces, actors and actresses without overexposure or scandals attached. And guess what? It worked. With no baggage or oversaturation, viewers could actually believe in the characters and get emotionally invested in their stories. These rare wins prove that 2025's problem wasn't a lack of talent or creativity. What's missing is patience and the courage to swim against the current of oversaturation and instant gratification. When writers are given time to create, when producers trust the story instead of just early buzz metrics, K-dramas return to what made the world fall in love with them: the art of telling deep, human, unforgettable stories. So the question now is, will the industry learn from these rare successes or keep trading quality for quantity? If it's up to the audience, now more aware, more critical, and more selective, 2025 might just have been rock bottom. And that, ironically, is good news. Because when you hit rock bottom, there's only one direction left to go: up. Let me know in the comments, which 2025 drama actually surprised you? And which one was your biggest disappointment of the year? Let's talk.